When we look at the schedule for our resources, ka-chunk, ka-chunk, this is a lot of data bars. We can see that, oh my, I definitely have some management here because I have same things all logged up. To make this an easier thing to see, the system does allow you to set your own preferences. So if for a work order, a late work order, a locked work order, you can see the color schemes that are associated with each of these things, and you can change it so that you can make this layout better for your usage and make it more easy for you to use. Okay, so now we're going to go back to Job Management, and we're going to look at our Production Planner Workbench. A lot of data to manage in the system. The first thing we're going to notice up here is our job, 2370, has shortages. This job has shortages. I have 2 materials associated with them, and both of them are short. Some of these other ones, these are in the past, and so they're all yellow. So jobs with full availability are also listed, so I can see which jobs have full availability, but I have not yet released them. Some of them are MRP jobs, some of them are manually created. This can be awfully busy to look at. What you'll find throughout this system, and we'll look at this in a couple of places, so if I go too fast, don't worry about it, is that the system will allow you to group your grids throughout the system. So if I want to look at this, I say, oh, well, I need this by part. I can see that I have 2 jobs for this part, I have 3 jobs for this part, okay? I have 4 jobs for that part. All right, that's really very nice, but it isn't all the information I really need to know. I need to know how many pieces I'm going to have in production. Well, the system will allow you to show summaries as well. And anywhere this little summation shows up, you can average, you can go by count, minimum, maximum, or we're going to use sum. So now I have a sum of 1,100 in place, and you'll see that it's updated all throughout. So I can see how many pieces I have for each part grouped. And I can manage this more by exception than by details. My shortage jobs, this list is a shorter list, so I may not want to group it so much. But the system will allow you to group by grid, by form, so that you can manage your data better. So since we have shortages on our part, we need to go off and purchase some parts here. What the system runs for us to be able to do that is called suggestions. And your buyer will come in and look at the new suggestions that they have available. And you'll notice in our material list, and this is one of those places, we talked about how we're going to sum this up a little bit, make it a little easier to use. This is one of those places where group by really comes in handy. So I can group my suggestions by supplier ID, and I can see how many pieces I have to purchase according to this. Also available in the grids, anywhere you see these little, the column headers, you can sort by the column header. So that if you want to see by due date, by order date, I need to order these much earlier than I need to order some of this other stuff. Or by part number, or however you want to sort it to make it more usable for you. Epicor is very, very focused on making the system usable and groupable so that you can work to exception. For manufacturing, working by details is just not practical. We have to work to exception. We have to be able to group. So we're going to come in here and we're going to say, I want to buy that one and I want to buy that one. We're going to go to our actions and generate our purchase order. Now when we generate a purchase order for the part, you'll notice that the suggestions drop off. The system does protect us from doing things like buying it twice because I've already processed it. So now that we have our purchase order, let's see where it is, and we can take a look at that. Even though I chose 2 parts, because they were both for the same supplier, it grouped them together and created a single purchase order. The system does support purchase level approvals. So if you have a certain buyer level limit, the system will parse it through, and instead of showing it as approved, it will show it as pending approval. And you can have as many of those levels as is required. For our example, in order to keep to my time frame, I just went ahead and chose a buyer that has an unlimited list. So it came in as approved. So here's our purchase order, 4310. and it's all ready to be processed. If we look on the lines, we can see that this part has an inspection required. So when it comes in through purchase order receipt, we're going to have to process an inspection. Okay? So let's go receive some material. My lead time of 0 is actually accurate in this case. So let's do my new receipt, my purchase order number, packing slip, I'm going to receive my part. The system knows that I'm expecting 50 pieces in, and it expects me to receive complete. If I don't receive complete, that's not a problem. The system will adjust. So if I say I only have 15 of these, you'll see that it's not expecting it to be complete. The system does do conversion from unit of measure. So if I purchased this in cases and inventoried it in eaches, the system would convert for me, and you'd see a different quantity between the supplier and our quantity. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and do another stock line for the other lines. I have both of my parts. And now they show as arrived. I have not yet received them. They've only arrived on the dock. So if you have the system set up so that you need to do a two-step receipt, you can go ahead and show it as arrived on the dock, and then when you go to place it, you can receive them all. The system manages ROHAS as well. That's where this message is coming from. Receipt is compliant is because the system does manage ROHAS. So if your supplier has restrictions or if your part has a ROHAS restriction, the system will look for it and make sure that your system is set up properly and everything is compliant. So now that I've received them, it goes over to received lines. If I want to see where this part... Yes, sir.
Can I put in a real quick question?
Yes.
Can you do a partial receipt?
Absolutely.
Okay, with remaining receipts, multiple at a later point in time.
Yes. The system supports multiple ship lines. So either in the purchase order, if you knew they were going to come in separate dates, then you could go ahead and create separate release lines. Let's go look at our PO again, just for giggles here. I'm going to go to the tracker so that we can look at it, but we're not going to change anything. I did receive these in full, and so the purchase order is now considered closed. Okay? If I had not received them in full, the purchase order would stay open for the remaining amount. But the system has the data organized by header, which is, of course, all the global information that applies to all of the purchase order lines, and then by lines, which is for the part number and for inspection required and for the line level details. But it also has release level, which allows me to have for the same part, for the same purchase order, multiple release dates, multiple ship dates that I can receive by. So the system allows you to either plan for multiple receipts of a smaller amount where the line is for 50 pieces and I'm going to receive 10 each on 5 different dates. Or when you get to receiving, you can create the line for 50 pieces and just receive 10 each as they come in.